Hey, Critical Analysis, this is your vocabulary video for Chapter 9. So I'll scroll down. You can see your Chapter 9 video, your lecture video is already uploaded. That's where you get into Week 12, Chapter 9. As usual, you want to have your study guide pulled up so you can kind of go along with me as I talk about these vocabulary words. And then as I talk about these words, of course, then I'll go over the quiz and how the words kind of apply and are used in this chapter for the quiz. So I've got my textbook running in the background here. Again, we're on Chapter 9 under Business. So I'm going to pull up my copy of the study guide and start going through these words. These first set, ethical down to salvaging. This is from the selection on the iPhone. So if I scroll here, reading number 2, and again, based on when you watch this video, if you've already watched the lecture video, we already talked about this article and we talked about the questions that go along with it. So the first set of words are from this particular reading. Excuse me. All right, so ethical means right versus wrong in terms of your behavior in the workplace. So a lot of people want to say that like ethics and morals are the same, and they're a little different. Not often they align, but ethical is kind of like your right versus wrong, your expectations in a professional setting, the guidelines you're supposed to follow. Facilitate means to make something easier. So if you've ever been in a group and there's like a facilitator, that means that person's job is to kind of make things go smooth. They maybe start conversation, they answer questions. To facilitate means to make things easier. Impede, to get in the way of. So maybe stress gets in your way, impedes your progress. Maybe health issues can impede, issues with communication. So impede could be to get in the way, but it could be a physical thing as well. Like something is literally physically in the way of you. Maybe a car accident impedes your ability to get home on time. So impede is to get in the way. Scrutiny is when you are really looking at something in close detail, like you're scrutinizing it, you're examining it, you're really looking at the nitty-gritties. And then salvaging is when you're using something for later, like you're going to save it and use it for later. It might sound odd, but oftentimes they use this in terms of like shipwrecks, what they can salvage something from it, or like if there's an accident, what they can salvage, to save, or maybe if you do get something, you use it for later. Okay, the next word, and this is kind of strange, the word syndicated comes from the biography. So it's on 493. So I'm going to kind of scroll down here, and I'm going to go through here because this is a business section, business chapter. They chose Oprah Winfrey since she is kind of like what they consider like a business tycoon. So this word comes from her bio, syndicated, meaning something that is published simultaneously. So for instance, certain radio shows, like I listen to like Elvis Duran in the morning, on the way to work in the mornings, and it's shown, or it's broadcast out of New York, but at the same time it like plays like in 50 different locations across the country. A lot of TV shows are syndicated, which means it's not just playing in Northeast Ohio on Wednesdays at 8 o'clock. It's playing multiple places on Wednesdays at 8 o'clock. So it's published or broadcast simultaneously. These two words I didn't associate with like a page number or anything because they appear so many times in this chapter, and they're kind of like the heart of what this chapter is talking about. Bias meaning it has an opinion, you are either for or against something, and it's clear, like you're writing, you are definitely showing how you feel about something. Versus objective, which means the opposite. Objective meaning you do not have an opinion, you are neutral on the topic. So it's the opposite of bias, or objective also could just mean unbiased. All right, the next set of words starts right here from eclectic, and it's actually going to go down a little bit to sidetracked, so it kind of starts up here. So I'll kind of juggle the page right there, and this is going to come from, let me go back. I think I went past it too quickly. It's going to come from this reading right here, reading 3 online, How She Does It, and this was You answered 10 questions on your text and skill practice sheet from this particular reading, so hopefully you already spent some time with this. So this is where this next set of words comes from. Eclectic on 499 means comprised of several sources. So a good example might be like your taste in music is eclectic. You might like all kinds of different genres. You know, you don't just stick to one genre of music. You listen to country, R&B, jazz, hip hop, it doesn't matter, like eclectic, lots of different sources. Dilapidated on page 500 means broke down or falling apart. So that could describe like a structure, a building of some sort, something that is just not in good shape. Looking at the back of your study guide, or in this case, the scrolling down, intertwined means twisted together or connected. Maybe you have something that is literally intertwined, like there's something physically twisted together, or it could just be like our lives are intertwined, like you live with someone and you're connected. Impeccably means perfectly, like if you've ever heard of like, oh, they dressed impeccably, very put together, almost perfect, meets very high standards. Sidetracked is to get distracted or like your focus is pulled away. So maybe you're doing one thing and you get sidetracked because your attention was pulled away and now you're working on something else. So sidetracked is kind of like a distraction. Now these two words are very random, so I'll just let you know that. Insolvent, these are both because it's in the business chapter, so the coordinator threw these in because they're business connected. Insolvent means unable to pay forward. So if you're insolvent, you're just not able to kind of, what it sounds like, you're not able to pay forward, to pay it on. Negotiation, you're trying to discuss or have a conversation with someone with the end goal being to reach an agreement. And this is done in all kinds of fields, but it's often done in the business field as well. So negotiate, you're trying to reach an agreement, a compromise, an understanding of some sort. Okay, and then the last little bit here, sustainable down to global, we're going to talk about our TED Talk. So that comes from right here, the future of business is mesh. So again, depending on when you view this video, you would have already read or listened to this TED Talk. So sustainable means you're not depleting sources. It's kind of the opposite of perishability in a way. Sustainable means like you are being smart with your resources. Maybe you're recycling or you're using things that are not going to be used up. So for instance, like petroleum, gas, that's not a sustainable resource. Like it's not a renewable resource. We know this. And so we have to use it very wisely because it's not sustainable. Pertinent means relevant or applicable. So if something's pertinent, it's like on topic. It's like, yes, this is relevant. This is pertaining to what we are focusing on. Recession is a decline or downturn in the economy. Some of you might have been around for the 2008 recession, which is probably one of the more recent ones. Of course, there is like the Great Depression, in the 1920s and 30s. So a recession is like a decline or a downturn in the economy. Perishability means it cannot be stored for later use. So if you ever say like, oh, they're doing a non-perishable food drive, that means non-perishables like canned goods, they can be stored. If something is perishable, it can't be stored, like fruit. Fruit's going to go bad after a couple of days. You have to use fruit and veggies up, any more than a week for some of them and it's done. So it cannot be stored for later use. And then global just means relating to multiple countries, and they use this a couple times throughout the chapter, which is why, again, I didn't give a specific page number, relating to multiple countries and areas across like different parts of the world. All right, so those are your words. Whenever you feel comfortable, you'll open up your Chapter 9 vocabulary quiz. And again, you want to make sure that you are not just inserting the word not. That is not going to fix a sentence. All that tells me is you know how to put the word not in front of the vocabulary. So adjust the rest of the sentence somehow differently. And only one sentence is correct as written. Please don't make sure you type correct more than once. So read and correct the first part. Part B is short answer. Make sure you respond to the actual question that's being asked. Don't just define the word. So this says describe something that would impede your progress in a college class. So you would not write on the line, impede means to get in the way. Well, right, that's what it means, but that's not what it's asking. Describe something. So make sure you're answering the questions and then fill in the blank part C. All right. If you have any questions, please let me know. You will submit your vocabulary quiz, as always, in the Dropbox, and this is due by Sunday for your quiz portion. And again, make sure you go back and you review the other videos for your text and skill, your homework, and the discussion board. Talk to you next time.